when you have a stitch drop off of your work, the first thing that you want to do is just grab that as high up as you can before it continues to spread down your work. So I got it here and I have these 2 bars across the back. So I need to repair those 2 stitches. Now, I am going to get this onto my other needle, but that doesn't look quite right. So looking at this stitch here, I have this part that's kind of coming from the right of the stitch coming in the front, and the left is kind of in the back. So I'm going to try and put my stitch back on that same way. If I were to, do it this way or the way that I had originally put it on, I'm going to end up with a twisted stitch, and then it's going to look weird in the project. So I have that back on, and then I have, again, these 2 bars in the back. Now I'm going to pick up the bottom of these 2 bars because that's going to be the first stitch that we need to correct. Now notice these are behind the work because these are knit stitches. That's where I want it to be. If for some reason I had both of those in front of the stitch, I would need to move them. So, but they are behind. I'm going to go ahead, pick up this bar, and I'm going to put it onto this needle. And all I'm going to do, and if you think about how a knit stitch looks with the V wrapping around the stitch, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to pull this up and over that loop that was hanging. And I have that V stitch. It's kind of stretched out. As I continue the work, it's going to kind of even out a little bit. But now I'm going to pick up that next one, drop it on there. And again, I'm going to pick this up and just bring it. Hold on a second. Let me get my yarn out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I have my actual stitch, and then this was the bar that was along the back. I'm going to take that and I'm going to pull it up and over. And again, it's really stretched out, but I have the correct V formation there. The process when you pick up a dropped purl stitch is going to be pretty much the same. You're going to try and grab that purl stitch as high up as you can. And sometimes it's awkward because you think you can get that little stitch, but you can't really. So, all right, so I have this stitch, but notice I've got this weird bar in front and I've got this one in back. So something's not going to be quite right here. Now, if you think about a purl stitch, you need the yarn to be in front. So I have this one here. It might be a little bit hard to tell, but this is actually the lower of the 2 here. So this is the one I'm going to want to start with. So I am going to lift this up and just drop it on the needle here. Now let's think about this for a second. When you make a purl stitch, you have the bar that you see, and then you have the V in front. So you want this thing to be in the front. So then when you lift up this stitch and pull it over, it's going to look like a purl stitch. But what do we do about this other one that's back here? Because right now, if I pick that up and drop that on there and I go ahead and pull that over, maybe, that's actually going to end up looking like a knit stitch. So we don't want that. So instead, I'm going to put that on the needle. I'm going to reach under and I'm just going to pull that stitch there. Now I do have that twisted, so I'm going to put that back on and make sure, just like with our knit stitch, it matches how the other purl stitches look. And then I think for some reason I always do purls. I guess that you could do it on either needle. I always do them on the right needle. But so I'm going to flip that over and I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it over. And again, it's weirdly stretched out, but it's a purl stitch. And I would note you would then, of course, want to move that back to the correct needle before you continue on.